Alrighty, folks, let's go ahead and get started. A couple of people will just be trickling in a little late, but that's fine. So hi, everyone. This is Caitlin with Flux. Thanks so much for joining me today in our overview on generic templates. We'll be going over how you can leverage generic templates to facilitate your everyday use of Flux. If you should have any questions at any time during the webinar, please go ahead and type those in the questions section of your GoToWebinar tool. We'll be dedicating the last few minutes for questions and answers, so make sure to save all of those questions for then. And if we do not get to your question in time, we'll try to curate those and make sure to answer them offline for you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. In this generic templates overview webinar, we'll be answering the following questions. What are generic templates? How can I use generic templates to create web pages for my grantees? How can I use generic templates to save my site's images? And as I'd said earlier, there will be a Q&A after the overview. So first, let's talk about what generic templates are and what they mean on Flux. Among your forms live generic templates. You'll recognize certain model types such as grant request, request transactions, and request reports. However, generic templates sets itself apart from other model types such that it doesn't quite act like a model type on Flux. So what does that mean? It mostly acts as a place to host a web page, as is evident on the external portal in your site, if your site does utilize that external portal for external users, such as grantees or reviewers. You might wonder how you'd build on generic templates. It's much the same as any other model type. However, you can only add a limited number of form objects, and those include the text area form object, the images form object, and two other separate components. Now, this differs greatly from your interaction with other model types, especially the robust grant request model type. How, then, are generic templates useful to you and your users? Now, there are plenty of creative ways to leverage what generic templates has to offer you, and I'll be showing you a couple of those ways that will make your work on Flux a lot easier. So how can I use generic templates to create web pages for my grantees? And I'll go over what I mean by web page as we continue on. Your initial interaction with generic templates might have come from setting up that external portal for your grantees and reviewers to interact with if you do utilize the external portal. A key piece of that external portal are the welcome page and any additional information pages that you'd like to include for your external users. So before I show you an example, let me show you something interesting that you can enter directly from your dashboard here. So locate that cogwheel over to the top right that you normally click on to enter the admin panel or log out right here. So hover over that, you'll see the menu pop up. You'll notice that the generic templates is an option here. So let's see what happens when I click on it. Notice that a modal will pop up on your dashboard right here. What's listed here are all the generic template themes built on your site. As you can see, we can open up Grantee Portal, some images, an information page. Clicking on any of these themes will open up the generic template card onto your dashboard. So let's go ahead and click on this. And you'll see the card pop up with this generic template. So let's go ahead and close this out and look at how this is built. So we'll want to enter the admin panel from that same cogwheel menu. And once that loads, we're going to go ahead and make sure we're in Forms and locate the generic template model type among the other model types. So right now, we're looking at that information page that I had shown you in that individual card on my dashboard. As you can see in preview mode, this is a welcome page for your grantees. It's the first page your grantee or reviewer should see on logging in. This, of course, could differ depending on your organization's policies and how your grantee portal is set up. Now let's take a look at how this theme is built by entering the builder mode here, which is the hammer icon. And you'll notice that this form is very short. It has a few types of form objects that live on this form. The interactivity of this theme is meant to be limited, since it's acting as a welcome page, or as I'd said earlier, a web page, and not as an actual form, like a grant request form or a report. I do want to bring your attention to this last component here that says Apply for Grant. Now, this component provides a link for grantees to create a new grant request directly from the welcome page. You can choose which theme you'd like to provide for your grantees to apply through here in this dropdown that says Theme. And right now I have it on a second grant request theme. And I can choose in this menu. And this would change depending on how many grant request themes you have. Let me give you a non-grantee example. Let's say that you have a generic template used to host any information about internally funded projects. So, like you had seen on my internal dashboard, your users can actually open up this generic template card on their own dashboard to access that information project. So let's say that there is an internally funded project and you want instructions on there as well as the form to fill out to apply for an internal grant. So this link can allow your users to enter in a FIP or the request form for the internally funded project, you can see here, rather than a grant request that you also have here. Now let me show you what this information page will look like for your grantee. As you can see, it looks like that welcome page with basic information and instructions. And if you scroll down here, you'll see that that Apply for Grant link shows up as a button. And they can go ahead and click on that, and it'll lead to a new request form based on your theme you've selected. Now you can also utilize generic templates, here where it says information will show up here, to create another theme for either internal or external users for general information. Essentially, any text instructions or information you'd like to make readily accessible to your users, you can do that here in generic templates. Now, this is especially useful if you have extensive instructions on grant requests that do not belong. They don't have to be on the grant request itself. So you don't say you have a really long grant request theme, and the form is really long, you don't want to clutter it with additional information, but you want that available for your grantees. You can go ahead and do that by creating an additional generic template for your users. Now let's go ahead and talk about storing images that you use on a daily basis here in generic templates. So let's return to my internal dashboard here. You might be wondering what I'm talking about here. Among many items, you can upload images to any form, let's say on your requests or even on reports, using the image component or text area. By storing your images in generic templates, though, you have that image easily accessible to you on demand, and you don't have to worry about digging deeply in the computer to find your desired image, searching through Finder, being like, where is the image? You can go ahead and keep them here so you can access them easily on a day-to-day basis. Now, perhaps you've run into the issue in which your organization's logo will not load on a form that you have, despite it loading other times. This can be confusing and frustrating. It's hard to figure out what the problem is, whether it's just loading from a bad link, or it's not sure where to look for in your system. However, this can easily be prevented or remedied by ensuring that that image itself is saved to the exact place that your forms live, which is right here on Flux. By uploading your images to your generic templates, anywhere that that image is used will pull from the same place in which it lives, making it certain that your images will load properly. Keep in mind that the image you save in generic templates, whether it's through one of two ways that I'm going to do, it has to match how that image or that image got saved. So let's say you upload an image via a link, make sure that that link matches the image you upload on your forms. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and make a theme under generic templates here. Your images are going to live. So let's enter mine right here. To create your own, you'll go ahead and click on this plus sign by New Template. And once you've created that theme, so if I click here, a will pop up, you can name it. And you can either create from an existing view, which probably not, you'll want to start from scratch, and save it. You'll be able to keep that here, so you'll be able to create one just like mine. And you'll want to switch this from active to draft. Now, this ensures that the form here will not be visible to any users as a form that they can actually interact with. Where this just is keeping and for access by others. So let's go ahead and enter the builder for this form. So as I said earlier, there are two ways of saving your images to generic templates. The first is by uploading the image through the image form object. So here's an example, but let's go ahead and see what it looks like to add one. And under kind, you'll select image. You'll see this upload image link right here. Click on it, you'll be able to download any images from any folder within your computer. The only issue with this method is that you can't resize images utilizing this component. It will appear based on its dimensions upon upload, so you won't be able to change the size, how it looks, if you've uploaded it. There is a way, however, to upload your images and be able to resize them at will. So let's go ahead and talk about a second way to store these images to your site using generic templates. So first, you want to collect a URL for your image. You can do this by locating your image on your web browser. This could potentially be right where it is on your theme. As you can see in my screenshot, I copied the address for my image directly from the preview mode of my grant request theme. And you'll see I clicked copy image address to go ahead and collect that URL. You can also open the image in a new tab and collect the URL from the browser domain. Or somewhere where you can paste it temporarily while you enter the generic template where your images are saved, like the one that you saw on mine. So once you've entered that generic template theme, simply add text area and enter the text editor, which you can edit text over to the right under attributes. You can use a text area object to upload an image. So you'll simply locate the insert image button, which you'll see right here in my screenshot, which resembles a painting, and the little message insert edit image will show up. After clicking this, a little modal will pop up for you to enter that URL that you had previously collected for your image. And you can also name and describe the image here and edit those dimensions. If you know like how large it was or how large you need it to be pixel-wise, you can do that here. But you can also drag the corners here. So after you click save, you'll see that your image pops up here and you have these drag corners. And thus you can adjust the size of your image directly within the text editor. So after clicking save, you'll be able to reference this image time and time again. You'll see it as a text area form object. This is what shows up in the preview over here under attributes. And you can go ahead and copy the element to other places in generic template. You can go ahead and use this time and time again. The information will always pull from the same place. On. So this concludes today's webinar on generic templates. I hope you enjoyed it. If there are any features I did not cover extensively, such as how to build a grantee information page or any other additional information pages, we'll make sure to host trainings in the future to address those features. You may also learn about any of these features by visiting our knowledge base. So let's go ahead and open it up to questions. Got a couple. Here's one. Why are generic templates so limited in the number of components you can use on it? That's a really good question. So as I've mentioned earlier, generic templates act as web pages or info pages. They're not fully interactive. They're definitely not as robust as the other model types like grant or report. And they're utilized to make information readily available for your users without entering your other forms. So it's great for information to live without putting them in other places, slowing down records, and opening up new places to look for information, just keeping it in one place. template to resolve the issue. There are only a couple of components you can add there, but it's definitely for a reason. Okay, second question we have is, can I save files, other images onto generic templates? Okay, so the short answer is yes. Depends on what you mean by other files. I can try to show you really quickly how to do this. So let's say you want users, to give an example, to access certain documents that you don't intend for them to edit or interact with, like I had said before. So one of the two components, I didn't show you this one earlier, but there's another component you can choose. So if we select kind component, there's actually a type called additional forms. It's the first type of component that you can choose. So other than the apply for grant link, you can also have this additional forms component. So let's say, let me just go ahead and click save. And here you can provide additional links to certain documentation, like you're used to see print and without editing. So you can edit text saying what kind of documents live here. You can change the label to say like extra information on X, Y. And then what you'll do is you'll add the document here to this document list. And what will happen, it will show up just like it's seen in the grantee portal. There says apply for grant. Then you'll see another link that says additional information or extra information on requesting, thing like that. That's what that print is good for. So you can use different files other than on generic templates. You can't save other forms on here. So like if you have another form for them to fill out, you can of course upload a document here for them to print and send in, but it won't be interactive in the same way that grant requests are or any other model type built here on Flux. So those are the questions today. If there are any other questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them after this webinar by emailing support. So go ahead and call it. You'll be able to find the video recording of webinars in this one on our knowledge base. Just to go over what we've gone over, we went over what generic templates are and what it means on Flux. We figured out how to create web pages for grantees or any other external users. And we also learned to upload images to templates. So to learn more and access the video recording of this webinar, go ahead and visit this URL, flux.io/knowledge. That'll lead you to our knowledge base. And there you'll not only be able to find this webinar and recordings, you'll also find a list of our upcoming webinars, a link to register for those webinars under the folder labeled Training Webinars. And of course, like I said earlier, feel free to ask us at support, and we'd be happy to help you with any inquiries. Thanks again for joining us today, and we hope to host you again at our next training. Thanks so much. Have a great day.